Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my first round of IVF. It's been 2 weeks since I last filmed. I want to say, yeah, 2 weeks. So I want to talk about a few things that I never knew going through this process, and one of them was the day of the transfer. I did talk about what we were instructed to do. So when I did arrive to the doctor's office that morning, I was told to take a Valium 30 minutes before actually going in. My appointment was at 10:30, so I was instructed to take, it was at 10, and I was instructed to take my Valium at 9:30. So I took it while I was there in the office. I had just arrived, I checked in, and I was drinking 32 ounces of water. So I was instructed to take that much water. So I took extra water just in case. So when they said they needed me on a full bladder, they meant a full-blown bladder, like the bladder you have when you're like dancing around, where you're about to let it out. I thought I was ready for it. I just watched the time go by, and I'm looking at the clock thinking, when are they going to come in? Because I really had to pee. So the nurse came in and she checked my abdomen. She did an ultrasound of my abdomen area to see how full my bladder really was. And she put so much pressure, and it was so uncomfortable. She came in and she told me that my bladder was not full enough, so I needed to drink more water. So I went in, I finished some more water, and the doctor came in about 10 minutes later. And in between that time, the embryologist, the room where we were at, it was really dark. It was a really dark room, and it was right next to the embryologist. So he called us in to the little lab that they had there, and he asked us if we wanted to see the embryos. So of course we said yeah. We went in. We actually looked at them under the microscope, and we went back into their room. So the nurse and the doctor prepared. The nurse was getting everything together to do the ultrasound while the doctor was in my vaginal area, preparing everything, opening my cervix, I believe it's called, and to put in the catheter, and then just set that up and have it ready to go. So when she was ready, she was just gonna knock on the door that was literally like this door. And the embryologist was going to come in and put in the embryos in another tube, and they were just going to release it like right away. It was going to be a quick 1, 2, 3, let's do it. So the whole time that this process was going on, once she knocked on the door and they were ready for the embryologist, the nurse had so much pressure on my abdomen area to watch where they were inserting the embryos. So my bladder was so full, and I couldn't really pay attention to what was happening because everything was just my mind trying to focus on not peeing on the doctor. It was so uncomfortable. It's been one of the most uncomfortable things. It's not painful. It's not really painful at all. It's just so uncomfortable. It's a full-blown bladder where you're literally dancing around hoping not to pee. So once that was over, I really didn't want to do the straight catheter. I was terrified of that. I've never had that done. But she actually, once the embryos were in, she asked me, can you hold it for another 10 minutes? And it was absolutely out of the question. So she did a straight catheter, and it wasn't as bad as I thought. It was actually, the focus was more on emptying my bladder at that moment, that it wasn't anything that I expected. So that was an interesting experience in itself. And she emptied out my bladder just a bit. It sounded like a lot of urine was emptied out, but she didn't empty it out all the way. So within the 10 minutes, I had to run to the bathroom again. And then I came home. They wheeled me out all the way to the car, and they told me to just kind of rest, but not completely bed rest, for me to walk around here and there because of the estrogen, to avoid blood clotting and whatnot. So I came home and I actually took a nap. So I took a couple hours nap, and I got up I was walking around doing, you know, minor, very light things. The doctor asked me to stay doing very light things for the next couple of days, at least the last 4 days, or the next 4 days. So I did that, and I didn't have any cramps. I really didn't feel anything, just a little bit bloated. I didn't have any spotting. I didn't have anything. So the next couple of days was more focused on me trying not to take the home pregnancy test. So I waited a few days, and I was just curious. I wanted to document for myself, for my own purpose, how that works out. And I did have the understanding, the doctor did tell me that I would get, it was a possibility that I would get a false reading. So I took the pregnancy test that actually kind of gave me the heads up that it was going to be a negative and that it didn't work, was actually a pregnancy test that I took on day 8. So I got a big fat negative. So I got a negative reading, and I kind of prepared myself emotionally for that. And then I actually had a talk with my husband and kind of prepared him on this is what I'm expecting. I'm not going to rule out. I'm not going to stop my meds. I'm not going to do anything. But I don't believe that it worked. So I did try to do a lot of, I tried to get myself together. I really had to do some deep searching to really try to push on and not let the negative emotions take over. So I was able to do that and just think to myself, all right, we're going to move on. We have a total of 3 embryos left, although some of them, I do understand that some of them may not survive the thawing process. So I'm just hoping for the best, and we'll keep moving on. The day before, on Thursday, the day before my actual blood test, I actually woke up that morning and I noticed my foot was a little itchy, one of my fingers. So we have ants. It's summertime in California, so we have ants, and I have a lot of ants right now. They come in for water, and I thought one of them had bit me, and I was in the shower in the morning, and I noticed my right foot was a little bit swollen, but I didn't pay any mind to it. It was very minor swelling, and it didn't bother me. So I just carried on, and about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, my foot just started feeling tingly. My leg just started feeling really tingly and a little bit numb. So I checked it out, and my foot was really swollen. I've never had anything like that happen. So my right leg was also swollen. I'm sorry, my left leg. Was also swollen, but not to the extent of my right leg. So my right foot, I mean, my shoe was making an imprint on my foot already. So I kind of freaked out. I wasn't sure what was wrong with me, if maybe I have developed like some kind of heart condition. I kind of panicked and thought everything in the book. So I work with a bunch of nurses, and the doctor was actually in there. So it kind of calmed me down. It brought a little bit of ease to me. I pulled out one of my nurses, and I asked her to take a look at it, and I asked her if it was something that I should be concerned about. But because of all the medications that I'm on, she wasn't sure. So I called my doctor's office, and they were busy. I had to leave a message, and it was about an hour when they finally called me back. And they told me to go get seen. They actually asked me if I was in the urgent care or in the ER. My plan was to go after work, and I told them no, I'm actually going after work, and they said no, you need to go now. So their concern was for me to rule out deep vein thrombosis, DVT, and that's clotting in the blood. So of course I ran to the ER. When I left, I was a little bit panicking. I was scared. I was really scared. I wasn't sure what was going on, and I haven't had much explanation on this, and I have looked up the side effects, but I had missed that on the estrogen. So I made it to the ER, and I was there for 6 hours. And they pretty much just, because I told them all the medications that I was on for IVF, they knew I was in IVF. So they did a urine pregnancy test, which of course came back negative. And they did an ultrasound on my leg to rule out the deep vein thrombosis, and they just basically told me, call your doctor in the morning, she's a specialist, and if she feels anything that you would have to take, she can order it for you. So all they did was basically rule out the DVT, and other than that they did nothing. So the next morning I was scheduled to go in for a blood test for the beta. So I went in and got my blood drawn, and I went in and I asked to see a nurse. And I guess they had all talked about my situation because I was calling while I was in the ER as well. And the nurse pulled me into a room. She measured my legs. My right leg was still swollen, and she actually told me that I might have given myself the progesterone shot in the wrong place, and that's what her suspicion was, but that she was going to relay the message to the doctor. So fast forward a couple hours, I got the call to confirm my negative pregnancy test, and they also told me that the doctor didn't think it was the progesterone shots, that it was actually the estrogen, the high levels of estrogen, that were causing the swelling. And she just said there was nothing I can do, that it would go away on its own. And because I had a negative pregnancy test, I was going to stop all medications immediately. So I was pretty happy to hear that part of it. So they actually told me to stay home, so I had to call off work and keep my legs elevated. So my foot was elevated just about all day yesterday. So today the swelling went down completely. I don't have the numbness or the tingling anymore, but I do get it here and there if I'm sitting for long periods of time. So I try to avoid that. I go back to work on Monday, so I actually sit for 9 hours a day. So I'm trying to do all the rest that I can now. And so the next process here now seems to be, I wasn't sure about what happens next, but I did talk to the nurse about it, and she said basically I'm expecting a bleed sometime soon, within the next couple of days, and I just have to call, and we're gonna get up and we're gonna run again. So that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna keep going and keep trying. So keeping high hopes and high spirits to just move along, and hopefully one of these three stick. If not, we're gonna start from square one, which I'm perfectly fine with right now. It's whatever is needed. So we'll just keep trying and keep trying. So stay tuned. And one more thing I wanted to mention. I keep having these really random pains, and I feel like it's in my uterus. It's inside, and I just get them really randomly. I don't know if anybody has experienced this, but no one's really talked about it. But it started, I want to say Wednesday night. I started getting these really sharp pains. I want to say in my uterus. It's higher than my vaginal area, and it just feels like something is pulling completely, and it is very painful. It only lasts like 10 seconds, and I seem to be getting them at night. Like I got them once the first time, the second night I got it once again. I had it this morning, and then I was at a theater just now and I had it, and that one lasted for like 20 seconds. I don't know what that is. It was just something really weird, because I literally have to grab everything, and it takes so much out of me to not just want to scream. It's very painful, but it's very short, so it lasts like 10 seconds, if not less. So I'm grateful for that. So that's all that I have for now, and stay tuned for our next round.